Hey there guys, Spazzy Dragon here, aka Syndromes, and welcome to the 2019 Discovery Freelancer Let's Play with a twist. So, if you've been subscribed to my channel for any amount of time, you probably already know that this channel operates around the Discovery Freelancer gaming community and obviously the Discovery role-playing mod. The thing about it is that every single year, I try to make at least one of these Let's Plays to promote the mod, promote the community, and, you know, keep the channel name actually relevant, right? But the thing about Disco is that it is actually very problematic to make into a Let's Play because of what Disco actually is. It's less of a normal day-to-day game that it is a kind of on-demand, perpetual D&D session where you can just jump in for an hour or two and just jump off anytime you want. So there's no scheduling, there's no appointing, and there's no problems with time zones. And the problem here is that the way that the game works is that until there is interaction between two players, there is a huge amount of downtime. And the game, in general, is very relaxing in that sort of way, and that appeals to many players. The problem here is that it makes for a very poor Let's Play material. Even when there is interaction with players, it's kind of more text-based, so you see a lot of typing going on, and without the proper context, it's not really interesting to watch. So what I would usually do in these situations is I would occupy that kind of spare time between encounters with some sort of information that is useful for the player, especially if it's a new player. And the way that I would usually do this is to kind of implement a tutorial in the Let's Play. But again, it's 2019. I've done this a couple of years in a row, and frankly, if I wanted to say which is the best tutorial so far, it's probably from 2018. To date, it is the shortest Let's Play in terms of episodes, but I think that in terms of a tutorial for a completely new player, it is probably going to be as good as it gets. So, this year, I'm going to be doing something a little bit different. About 3 or 4 weeks from now, or ago, rather, I did a small poll on my YouTube channel asking if you would like to perhaps see a more roleplay-focused attempt at a Let's Play. And so this episode, this Let's Play is going to be that test. So this is going to be the introduction episode. I'm going to explain how this is going to work, how this is going to be different from the previous Let's Plays, and hopefully the next episode is where we actually start doing things. At the time of recording this video, I'm not exactly sure that this is going to be interesting. I don't know, so I'm going to be making this introduction episode and the, quote, pilot episode for the Let's Play, and you guys can then vote with your up and down arrows or, you know, thumbs up, thumbs down, whether or not you want to see more of this sort of thing. And so, with that in mind, let's go. So, in the end, I've decided to sort of go with a out-of-roleplay narration of what is going on the screen, but I'm going to be explaining not only what is happening with the character itself, but also what is happening to me as a player as I decide to go with whatever choice that character makes. And before we dive in completely, I'm going to quickly talk about the character that I made here itself. So, meet Greg Ollie, aka Oliver Gregory. Every single Let's Play that I've done so far, I've started off in the starting location, which makes sense because I wanted to do a tutorial, and Pennsylvania is a very good place to start because it offers a gradual progression through mining, trading missions, and whatever. It gets your feet wet, so as a tutorial it makes sense. But in this case, I want to show you the roleplay aspect of the Let's Play, so we'll be assuming that I already know all the details, because I do, and we are going to forego the tutorial and instead we are going to choose to go with a completely starting character in a completely different situation. So in this case, I started off in Retonia. As for why I chose Retonia, it's simply that I like to give my characters some sort of backstory, and if I'm going to start them at the very beginning, like in this video, then I might as well kind of explain what's going on with Greg and how he ended up being in space. So, Gregory, up until today, has been a civilian living through a warm time period. Galley is invading, and while the best fighter pilots are off being heroes and whatnot, and living up to their titles as aces, Greg is just a shuttle pilot and is working at his family business along with his siblings. Now, Greg, however, is nervous, as with anyone in Bretonnia at these days, and just as so happens, Greg is also a massive coward. As a regular civilian, and until now not a part of what our characters are usually exposed to on a daily basis, Greg decides, on his own in secrecy, that he does not want to sit and wait for his untimely demise during some sort of orbital bombardment, which he knows is coming. So, when there is a job for his family business to pick up a simple, unrelated shipment from Battleship York in the Cambridge system, he outright has to beg to be assigned for this task. Now, Greg is by far not the oldest of his siblings, so this also means he hasn't done many between-system jumps. He's not as experienced of a shuttle pilot. Now, to put things into perspective, using a single trade lane between stations in the world of Freelancer takes more or less about the same time as driving between two cities, so that's maybe an hour or two. But to go from New London to Cambridge is a little bit different. I usually think that the time it takes for someone to travel between jump gates in interspell space is somewhere around a full day or so. So, with that in mind, this is quite a fair bit over what you'd usually get in terms of assignments. So, I'm not really going to go as far as to figure out what the exact thing happened when it comes to how he figured out how to get that assignment, how to convince his family, but at some point, here he is, roughly 2 days later, and successfully getting his ass landed on planet Cambridge. After a day of enjoying the hospitality of a Bretonian hotel and scrounging the local markets for parts and supplies, Greg launches into space, and he has exactly 2 hours to make a life-changing decision to whether or not go through with his plan. As he nears the destination of his mission, Greg is hailed by the nav officer of the HMS Norfolk. But instead of identifying the ship as the shuttle that was planned for today's pickup, Greg is sporting a different serial key and is simply passing the battleship as just yet another civilian shuttle, and then proceeds to enter the transit lane towards the Omegas. Once he enters that gate, there is no turning back. The civilian gate pass he has received will expire in a few hours, which would have been used for his return trip to the New London gate, which means that even if he wanted to, he could not return at this point. His ship's ID number also has been changed along with its transmission key, so there will be no way for anyone from Bretonnia to reach him, and vice versa. And so begins the story of Gregory Oliver, the war refugee. So, what happened there, guys? It was just a footage of me flying a new character towards my next player encounter to progress the character's roleplay, but as you can see, everything can be explained in roleplay, all of the actions, from just passing a base, everything else, it adds to the story, and as long as you use your imagination, your experience with Discovery Freelancer is going to be so much better than if you were simply playing Freelancer, a game from 2003. Disco is a roleplay platform, and the more effort you put into roleplay and understanding the roleplay environment and understanding what is going on in the concept of the roleplay environment, you're not just flying around in an empty space. There is something to it, and as long as you put your mind and, again, imagination to it, it really builds an interesting story. So in our case, this is a man who has fled his country and fled his family in order to save his own life with the delusional idea that somewhere out there, outside of the bounds of Bretonnia, he will find haven, he will find a place for refugees like him, and he is going to have a better time. But obviously, you and I both know that life tends to be very harsh out there in space. Space is dangerous, and it really looks like Gregory will need to learn that by himself on his own. So only time will tell what exactly will happen. Now, obviously, as a player, I have a lot of control over how this progresses. I can, kill him off if I want to, because that's the logical step that's going to happen. But in this case, Oliver, as he flees to the Omegas, which is the Wild West, so to speak, for the Bretonnias, well, he'll just have to wait and see how things go out. But for now, he is taking the gate to Omega 3, and he has about 1 day of interstellar travel in the Warp Gate to kind of reminisce what exactly did he just do, and was it the right thing? Was it? Time will tell. As for now, stay safe, guys, and I'll see you in the next episode.